Lee Phillips' Journey of Truth. I'm here with a quick alleyway update, and the City of Loganville Water Department came out today and raised up the meter boxes that are in the alleyway. Give y'all a quick look right here and show y'all what they did. So they raised up the meter boxes. Now what's going to be done from here on out, I'm not sure, but I can tell you that I did talk to the head of the stormwater runoff department, and he said that everything was not finalized, that they are still working on to address the water flow situation onto our property and ask us to be patient. And so we told them that we would be patient and wait for the final decisions and everything to be finalized and see where things go from there. Now, apart from that, me and my mom had a conversation with the owner of this property right here, and he agreed to put up a privacy fence because he is a commercial property. He has agreed to put up a privacy fence 8 foot tall, because we as residential are not allowed to put but only a 6 foot fence up. So he has agreed to put up a 8 foot privacy fence along his property, and we approached him with the intention of addressing it as a half cost situation, that we would pay half of the cost. And he ended up telling my mom that he didn't have a problem with providing the whole cost of the 8 foot fence for his property. That is just a godsend for us, because whatever we can get done, we're going to have to take out a loan and go in debt. This property here, we are unsure. It's still up for discussion. The owners of the property, really, they weren't aware beforehand that there was a water problem situation, and they didn't really realize that there needed to be a privacy fence up between their commercial property and our historic residential property. So they are still having discussions within themselves about the property line there and the fencing that is going up on it. And that brings us to the back side of the property. And here's an update for as far as we know on this property. We bought this 10-foot section that was up for auction, declared as an abandoned property, no use to the public or anybody else. But then when we went to sign the papers, they stated that there was an easement for the property here to have parking on this property that they sold us, that the city sold us. Now, how can the city sell an abandoned property and then let somebody claim rights to it, saying that they have the right to park there? There's got to be some funny business going on that, because that does not fall within reason. The deed has been corrected. This is now part of our historic property, and they're telling us that we can't privacy it off because we have to leave them access to come in and park, have extra parking on our property, and for city services to come in and service and maintenance utilities that are in the area. Well, I can tell you, we've been here for 53 years, and once you get past this point right here, there are no utilities in that 10-foot area going all the way back that the city would need access to. So for all intents purposes, and this is my opinion, for all intents purposes, we should be able to put up a privacy fence to privacy off our now owned property, as long as we leave room for them to get in, which they have room. They have as much room as a highway lane on any major highway to come into their property. They own that lane. They failed to show up at the auction to purchase this property that we purchased. All they had to do was show up, and they could have owned it outright, and our fence would have went up, privacy fence would have went up to replace this fence, and they would have outright owned this. But they wanted to do something conniving and sell us the property and make us responsible to pay taxes on it, but yet not be able to secure it to our property, even though it's one solid piece of our property now. So my thought is, as long as we leave them access to their property, which a reasonable amount would be from this spot here left open to where our old corner used to be, we can leave that open to leave plenty of access for emergency services to get around to the back. But as you can see, if there was a fire on this building right here, guess what? The fire truck's going to park out on Main Street. They're not going to bring a fire truck back through this confined parking lot to try and put out a fire that's in that building right there. If Walgreens was on fire, they would not park their vehicle over here to put out a fire at Walgreens. If that building was on fire, they would not pull in the parking lot. Emergency vehicles have to stay on the roadways. They're not going to pull off of the roadways onto private property to put out a fire. So, but reasonably, they should let us privacy off our property going back to that wooden fence back there where the van's parked, at least up to this point, and then angle our fence over that way so that there is access to come in through here. But they won't let us do anything, and that's not right. So we're going to try and get this addressed in the future with some kind of accommodation with the city, that they will revise what they said and give us unlimited access to our property and not anybody else. Because guess what? Now that we own this strip of property, if somebody came in here and there was a person that had their vehicle parked next to the fence and another car come in and hit that vehicle, they would have litigation between both of them, but they could also take out a lawsuit against us for, say, not having parking places properly marked, or they would make up anything to bring a lawsuit against us because we are the property owners. We, as a residence and a residential property, cannot be held liable for commercial property use. That's not right. Somebody in the city government of Loganville, Georgia messed up big time drawing up the contracts and the sale proposal and all the paperwork, because they conflicted, saying that we had unfeathered access and that we were now the sole grantor, and that anything under the old grantor didn't matter anymore. So why are they constraining us on securing off our property? So we've got to get that straightened out before that we can privacy off our property on the back side. If the owners of this property do not want to put up a fence separating their property from ours, then we will be forced to put up a 6-foot fence, which will not match the other fence on the other end, separating residential property from commercial property. Somebody's got to get this right in the city of Loganville, or else we're going to have to hire a lawyer and we're going to have to fight against this to protect our rights as owners of a Walton County landmark property. This is a historic property. And we cannot be intruded upon by the city or any of these business owners around here. We have to have our property intact. The sovereignty of our historic property, the only historic property in Loganville, Georgia. Other buildings have names of historic on them, but we are the only one that is registered and have a plaque number 37 with the Historical Society of Walton County. So that's an update on the alleyway and back property line, and we'll see what the city finishes up doing with the alleyway, and we'll see what the city does about giving us our property in the back. So like always, y'all be safe out there. Have a blessed day. Do something kind for somebody. See y'all on the next one.